Good morning, everyone. Where we are at. So the message is pretty much the same everywhere. I think yesterday was a little bit of a shock. We knew things weren't healthy for sure, and we went through that. I showed you different ETFs across the market that were already rolling over. And yesterday's theme, if you remember it, it was unimpressive, the reaction to NVIDIA, and things were perking up. And they actually held up really, really well for, I guess, about an hour or so. Let's just look at the cues here. And look here, 5 minute. And you can see what was happening there in the morning. It's like there was the gap up and it was just hanging here. And I've learned over the years, do not short something that even seems to be ridiculous when it happens. Anyway, but this truly, it really wasn't that ridiculous. It was just, there was so many warning signs to be careful in this market. And pinpointing the day is really the hard part, and especially the way things started out. So you see the first, what was it, hour or so, and then it just pushes up to a new high. These are the cues here. They push up to a new high, and things look like, okay, maybe this thing can continue to go higher. It come out from what we call an end of day base. And so one of the concepts from MTS, as we call it in the gap courses, when we look inside of a prior bar, how did it form? What was the structure in intraday? Because as you look at a daily bar, how it formed inside that bar can happen many, many different ways. So this one, end of day base, and it gapped up. So that's why I said, well, it wasn't so ridiculous. And so, and it wasn't what we would call a novice gap. Let's just cut it to the chase that way. But look at what happened as NVIDIA began to fall apart. And there was some news about the Fed, and now today there some guys talking about maybe, oh, it would be okay to cut, but well, we all know what happened. And just waterfall down, 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 down throughout the day, filled the gap, stabilized, and then just continued lower. And I mean, it was down so much. I mean, I thought, okay, it's going to bounce, it stabilized, added to positions, eventually got stopped out. I think it was here during the day around 2 o'clock. And then it was just, a mess from there. In any event, we've got a monster wide bar. And, one of the other things that happened yesterday was that when it gapped up, the you can see here, I can't, I could show you intraday, but anyway, this is the advancers minus decliners that we monitor during the trading day, and it started off. Right, this is just the close, but it started off up here, right, up around plus 1800, and by the end of the day, it was like close to minus 1800. That's incredible for one day to be so positive and then be so negative. So yesterday was a little bit of a outliers. Let's just say. Anyway, this October 10th day was a big nasty down day, and so now it's retesting that. We've got a wide range bar. Where do we go from here? So I've said many times, wide range bars are power bars. Power bars meaning they imply that more is coming. Well, more didn't come here. It stabilized and pushed up, and that's where it accelerated, and that's where we started getting cautious about the markets. Um, and just rattled around, and so here we are, and we've got this void up above. Let's go to the intraday charts, and you see the downdraft that happened. Now it's stabilizing here, so buyers are stepping up a little bit, and we'll probably get some type of a counter move. And it's how far up can it go? Well, we can only be reasonable. You see where I put the red area, this minor resistance, as an upside area where it might go to 600 on the Qs would be point to watch if it can get up there. If sellers continue to come, it's going to stay down here. And from there, one of yesterday's comments was before, this downdraft was things have to tighten up. Well, now they really have to tighten up. And usually that's going to take a few days and we'll see what markets hold and which ones don't. So today was the first time in quite a while that our internals are into a bullish extreme, where this downdraft got a lot of option traders, and they started yesterday actually buying more puts. And of course, yesterday that happened to a greater extent. And so now we'll see what today brings us, but ideally, this is going to push down even further. So this puts us in the ballpark of saying, odds are we're close to some stabilization. That being said, some decent damage is done. But on this weekly time frame down here, that's in an uptrend. It's on some support. It's down 3 weeks in a row, maybe a little bit further down, and then we look for the stabilization. And maybe where my cursor is right now on the daily time frame is where it goes, and so it'll just be applying bar by bar to see where's the McClellan right here, Dan. That's right here. I put these charts over here. So it's, I guess, around minus 200, give or take, a little above minus 200. And so we'll see what the AD line is. And ideally, I suspect we're going to see some selling because that's usually what happens, whether it breaks yesterday's low or lower. We'll just see what happens. Right now, things are just holding here for the moment. All right, so let's look around and see where the other markets are at. So spiders, they held this area. They finally came down there. Same pattern that's occurring pre-market for the moment. And prices are, you can see my cursor. I always look at that. Where are they at? Gapping. So it's a relatively insignificant gap up for now. And then we'll go to SPX and then we'll look at other markets. And so yesterday, it's rare that the SPX hits one of our extreme numbers. Well, it hit it yesterday and it went through it. And so that's why they're just not no-brainers, even when these extremes that we give day to day, they probably don't get hit more than 90% of the time. But when they do, it's got to be a nasty day. So let me just double check these numbers because sometimes they move around. Weekly 63, same thing. That's where it is right now. And so I always say it as if it's an absolute impossibility to happen. But yesterday it happened where it got hit. But the market's not going down here today. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's how I see that. It would just be too insane. So look, any put spread that you can do, I think that's even around 6,400, which would be a substantial premium, to move from there to there. You've got average 5-day average true range now is about 130 points. As you can see, that's what that number is. And, you put it from here, 130 points down, and you're pretty darn far away. Yesterday's range was an incredible 236 points. Big bar. You can see here, this was big too. Oh, all right. So the call strike is up there at 36. Let me see if that moved. Weekly. This other platform they're looking at, they mix the monthlies with the weeklies. So remember, today is an options expiration. That may curb things from moving around too much. We'll see. Weekly, weekly. 67.20. All right, so it came down a little bit. All right. So there you have it. All right, other markets, you know, the big getting into focus, we've been talking about it for a while, is the Bitcoin that is getting destroyed. And it has a history of getting destroyed and then coming all the way back. And so now it's on this major support. And whether it holds here or not, we'll see. I mean, 80,000, another whole number. It's on this support level. It's down a heck of a lot in a short period of time. No signs of clear stabilization as of yet, other than pre-market here a little bit, but isn't very meaningful. So we want to see from an intermediate point of view this begin to stabilize. Uh, Ethereum, that's lower. And I brought this up in the green room earlier in the week or last week. I was like, do you guys think this is having an effect on the markets? And nobody really thought much about it. And I wasn't sure. That's why I asked the question. But clearly, I think now it definitely is. And this whole AI theme of the bubble and all that. So market's going to turn around. It's just we have to be patient and wait. All right, crude oil heading a little lower here, not a big deal. The Russell that led the way down. That was another big nasty bar. Support is down here. It's gapping up a little bit. Nothing of significance. And see the Dow futures are just hanging here. Everybody's just waiting to see. We're gonna have a little counter trend rally here. How far does it get? Does it go sideways here? Option expiration, and so on. It doesn't really move very much. And then we get into next week, pre-holiday, and the markets usually go up around Thanksgiving, and it's down enough to look for some kind of a counter trend move. It would likely be appropriate to hold interest rates steady. And who was the other guy, Alex? So I heard on the news today some other guy was saying that they think it would be okay to cut. So there's this big, I guess, debate going on at the Fed about what to do. Nobody's really very certain. And if we looked at 13-week, it's just not moving very much. But Jefferson, gold seems to be shaping up here. I like what it's doing. As far as holding here above the 50, bottoming tail bar. Today is just beginning, but it's holding this area. And silver got shellacked pretty good, but things need to settle down. Yesterday, the theme was it's got to tighten up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fed liquidity is going down. Well, this whole talk that started about a week ago was about liquidity drying up. So look, we saw what was happening. And look, it's one thing to see what's happening, and we always do. Right, the warning signs are always there. Seeing ETFs like software dropping, regional banks that have been deteriorating, the wild move in the big financials rolling over and then spiking up and back down again. The warning signs were everywhere, but to pinpoint a day like today's going to be the day that the proverbial what's going to hit the fan, that's a whole nother thing to say this is the day, especially yesterday, the way it gapped up and it held up there for an hour and then it just falls apart. So look, we knew. things were not good under the hood. That was the analogy that I made. But to say that today is the day, that's I don't know. You need one of those guys on YouTube that, you know, with the Learjet and piles of $100 bills that never get it wrong. I'm joking, of course, but you know what I'm saying. Right? Things were not good, but the markets always hold things up or mask what's going on under the hood. And that's why we look at all these different markets to get an insight as to what's going on. So things are stable here. We'll see what they do. And then we get into next week. All yours, Dan. But our internals are close. So I'm hoping for a little bit more to the downside. Bitcoin maybe, you know, wash out some people. And that sets up the next counter trend move.
Good morning, happy DTE day, Friday, monthly option X day. So, yeah, yesterday morning we were talking about the gap up in the green room about, it was a bullish gap, no question. But I kept saying it's not a push the throttle. It's just in my opinion, was a short-term euphoric gap on the NVIDIA party. I went to the gym when it was hanging up there and everything looked fine by the dip in the afternoon. And I came back at whatever it was, 12:30, and I was shocked. So I said yesterday, we sold off into the close again. That ideally we get one or two inside bars, sell off again, get the internals cooked. I would love 640 on the spiders, and then we'll trade the bounce, which would be into Thanksgiving next week. Yeah, there are a few alarms going off, partly because I do not have a big watch list at all. And, so many daily charts are severely damaged. So we're still in day trade mode. And also we don't have much inventory. XLP, my up alarm went off. We're in this in our ETF letter. So Staples, that's a defensive sector. Mr. We're not in, but I'm watching this for a Climo. We should, if we stabilize, whether that occurs 30-minute high, 1 hour high, or sell off for another 30 to 60 minutes and then get a reverse. I think we should be able to have the number of 0DTE put spreads today. Just gotta wait for the setup. Tibla, I had a low alarm go off. That was a little buy setup we did yesterday. That's the only long we gave yesterday, and we gave 3 shorts. So we actually have 3 shorts and 2 longs. Our only other long is no, that's not AEP, which it's the stop is very close. So we got very light inventory. That's it. All right, let's go right to earnings. Into it. So there's a couple of bullish gappers here that I have as a put spread 0DTEs. This is one of them right here. To it, gapping over this ugly red bar. That's a beautiful put spread. But we got to wait 5 minutes. I'm sure the spreads are going to be ludicrous. This it's a climb up. Ideally, this would have been a great gap and snapper had it gapped down $1. So there's no turn yet. But see how it's getting stretched from the rubber band of the 20? The farther it gets stretched, the better. And then you gotta wait for a turn. Monzo, nothing. The Bravo Juliet, I actually had this as a put spread watch when it was gapping up. And now it's gapping back down, so back to nothing. Alta looks lower. It's near this prior low, but I don't see any gaps. But daily, weekly, monthly look like it's topped out. As to 36. Bullish gap. I don't know, put spread idea. Want to pull back. This 40. That's a short idea. It's a consolidation gap breakdown and a downtrend. We have a railroad track declining. A gap, bullish gap on a pullback. That's a quick spread and possible directional. That's just the gap's too big for me to do a directional right now. But bullish gap. Recent IPO looks like it has late volume. I don't see any gaps. Stop deleting. Rost, bullish gap, another put spread idea, a long watch. ESE shows a gap on a 215, but I don't see any. I see one little print here, so you can't trust that. I don't trust it if it's a liquid pre-market. ALB 111, gap in the middle. I have no idea. No bias. Vive, I have this as my put in the category of a possible excessive gap for a put spread 30-minute high. I got it here in the bottom right. ESTC 7280. Also 0 DTE. Not ugly gap, but they're big. Bullish, no bias. EMOS just got a downgrade. But that was a sell setup. We're a little late on the entry, but call spread idea if there's any juice. That's it on earnings. EBRG, why am I looking at you? Oh, Sam, that's on your list, I think. Scroll over, little 1, 2, 3. Purple, I just saw in the journal a headline. This is Cracker Barrel. Remember when they goofed on, well, it's a marketing faux pas. I think it happened right on this breakdown where they, because of wokeness, I'll call it, they changed their decade-long logo. They took away the old man sitting on a chair, and then look at these. That is a beautiful exhibit of railroad tracks. And so the headline said they're keeping their CEO, which based on this chart, I think is a retarded decision. I mean, this chart is screaming at you that you effed up and you need a turnaround plan. Yeah, let's see what I got up here. If Paul, which is Palladium ETF, can take out yesterday's high, I like it. It's like right here in support in the 50, it's do or die. Because if it closes below this, it has a void below. Platinum ETF. Let's see, that one did have a closing breakdown and has a void, so that one's weaker. Disney was one of our three shorts that we're in. Tex we're in. Closing breakdown. We got break even stops on both of those. Our X was shorted yesterday. Sell setup. You like Curdle as a stop? I'll try. Yeah, I always got to move this stupid text screen over because Zoom doesn't allow me to make it smaller. All right, pan W could be a wide range ending on volume, so we just got to watch for stabilization. That could be a 0 DT here. I'm actually going to set an alarm at 186.50. Sam likes the stuff at Hooters when he's traveling. This one got killed on earnings yesterday. Look at that 15-minute chart. Man, look at that volume. That, despite the big gap down, that is just being dumped. That's ugly. Shoe Carnival, it was earnings also. I would love to get a 1, 2, 3 on that. Short on Monday. RIG-T, there's so many finals we've been watching, and then the turn failed the last day or two. Now RIG-T's a little bear flag. I could see it coming down to $20 area. Aquilius is a buy setup, which is relative strength compared to the market. That's for darn sure. I have an alarm at 139 and change. Bitcoin just continues to get killed. Remember I gave you the list of what's the word I use for these Bitcoin aficionados? That Tom Lee I read. He's still saying Bitcoin 200,000. I don't know if he changes end of the year call on that, but I don't get it. Arc Lady, Scaramucci, and that sailor guy at Mister, they're all the Bitcoin aficionados. PayPal, I don't know, they'll reverse someday, but doesn't look anytime soon. CSX, Sam, this was yours yesterday. Gapping up a little under yesterday's low. Could be a day trade. Kind of a range expansion breakdown from a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the whole sector. Hose was CSX. What do you mean hose? Yeah, no, the entire sector in Bitcoin. Sam, I think was CSX. I think. I could be wrong. I try to get credit. Yeah, no, the whole sector. We just got to wait for a turn. But yeah, 0 DTE, it's bouncing here to resistance. So yeah, let's that and Mister. Let's keep an eye on Bitcoin. It looks like it's $2,500 off the low of the morning. Ice Baby needs to take yesterday's high out. IWN, that's a subdirectory of IWM. Perfect timing. EBRG, Sam, I think that's yours. Another 1, 2, 3 rolling over topping pattern. Alarm just went off. You could short 5-minute low on that. That's good. 1, 2, 3 triggered. All right, Intuit middle chart. Look at that. Wow. I'm not going to even waste my time looking at the options right now because they're going to be friggin' ludicrous spreads. I don't have any alarms going off, but my bias is zero DTE puts. We're just gonna be patient. All right, our Tex-Mex opening down looks good. Disney gapped up a little, but fine. We got breaking and stop. And RRX is our third short, opening flattish. Our Tibla is a long. AEP is, wow, it's pennies away from getting stopped out. It held it. Paid pennies though. Does not look good. That's a breakout failure. Just let it play out. That's what stops are for. I'm talking about stops. I actually was flat yesterday morning because I didn't like the behavior of things I was in. And this is, wow, that's an exhibit A of you better have stops when you're away from the computer. I mean, can you imagine coming back and looking at your open positions? All right, AEP finally stopped down. We can't go into hope mode. That failed. Hand W up alarm. Hand W, maybe 15-minute high. Let me check out the put department. It's a nice 15-minute base. Finally got above the 20. Daily is a Climo, wide range ending. So I like this. I like it. I'd do the 180s, 10 cents by 44. So nothing, then spready. The 182.50s, 25 by 80. So that's a veto. But we'll see how it closes for possible doing one for next week. Meta, I don't like the daily, but 15-minute is nice. Could be a scalperoo, but the daily is horrible for put spread now. Guggenheimer, no pattern. Netflix, nah. Tesla, nah. Amazon, Apple, man, everything is still like a friggin' mess. NVIDIA looks lower here. Look, that's a sell setup pre-market. Semis are weak. That is a void. Look at that. That's a void. And the targets would be this pivot, 315. Next one, 310. That is room to fall. ATB. Yeah. I'm assuming you're wanting to short yesterday's low. That's fine. You got to short what? Sam, don't answer that. It's way too early to start on him. All right, Mr. Bitcoin. Yeah, let's look at. It's just I have zero confidence that this is going to hold, and there's no pattern. Got coin. I got zero confidence in that. Hood, where Sam lives. Zero confidence of that. Quilius alarm. I like it Monday if it closes like this and takes out yesterday's high. Because then it'd be a potent 4-bar turn. But not doing anything with it now. AD line capped up over 900. That's respectable, but 15-minute charts, not a single one of the horsemen gapped over that afternoon breakdown resistance. We're just a little range down here. So there's really nothing to do, unfortunately. Set manager opens and look for things and set alarms. But I'm surely not hitting the button on anything. If you find something, I'm all ears and eyes. If Oracle got, I mean, that was a bullish turn. I mean, there was so much damage yesterday. I'll set an alarm 68.80.
But I look at Expedia. That held up relatively well yesterday. But it's uptrend, gapped up. If that can hold on to its gain here today, it could be one for the weekend letter, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. I like it over yesterday's side for a 0 DTE or two. Yeah, I got whacked the other day on that big bar with Google coming out with something to compete with them. So I did a 235 for today. 20 by 145. Freaking jerks. T. Yeah, yeah, that's a quality bottoming pattern, John. Yeah, that's quality bottoming pattern. I'm not, real eager to enter swings right now, but it's definitely on the watch list. If it were to close like this, could buy it over Wednesday's high, stop week's low.